Well, it's common for rural towns to have difficulty funding everything from firefighters to emergency medical technicians. So when the appeal came out for volunteers in the small town of Ringwood, it was a call a local pastor knew he needed to answer.
What's wrong with your brain?
It's Wednesday night supper at First Baptist Ringwood.
Who? You're Egyptian? Is that what you said?
And Pastor Brian Frabel is in his element.
When you're going through the line tonight, name a city that's in the Bible. All right?
It's no 9-to-5 job. And the job duties pretty diverse. Yet it's a devotion that extends well past the pulpit.
I'm a pastor of a small town Baptist church. I got a call one day. One of my church members was dying, in the process of dying. The first responders and the firefighters were doing CPR. And I got called to the scene because I was the pastor and because they knew I'd need to be there for the family to comfort them. And I remember watching the firemen and the first responders do what they were doing. And my church member ended up passing away anyway. But I just remember seeing that, and it impacted me how much they were there for that family in crisis. It was these first responders, these firemen who were there when this man took his last breath and the family was experiencing death. And as a pastor, I got called when somebody died, but I never got called before somebody died, maybe to help them, maybe to comfort them, and so that really impacted me.
So when asked to step into a new role, Frabel joined the volunteer fire department.
In my town, if you're there, if you can just show up, it doesn't matter what kind of skills you have sometimes, but just being there. We need warm bodies with pulses just to get to the scene, get equipment to the scene, just to help out sometimes. That led me to the process of responding to medical calls.
But that takes training, that living in a small town with the responsibilities of a full-time job and 6 kids is hard to get.
This next little section is diseases of white blood cells.
That is until Frabel found an EMS class at Career Tech.
White blood cells there.
Using distance education technology, Frabel and other rural students from across the state can learn how to save lives without leaving home.
And the long distance learning for me is great because I don't have to spend those hours driving. I can spend them in the classroom or with my family, and that means a lot to me.
Because you really don't think about EMS until you need EMS.
Gina Riggs teaches EMS training for Career Tech and says distance education classes help fill a dire need for rural paramedics.
8 years ago, we graduated 1 student from our paramedic program, and we were ready to shut our doors. And until we started doing distance education, we weren't sure we were going to be able to make it. So we can do a program and broadcast it from this campus, from Poto campus, and we broadcast to Thackerville and Marietta and Drumright and Tahlequah and Enid, all of those areas, and we may only have 1 or 2 students sitting in class out there. And so those students would have had to leave their communities to go drive to another school and to get training. Well, now they can stay in their local areas, and we broadcast to them. And then they come in here and do skills, and like we're doing today, the advanced cardiac skills in real-life situations. So it has been a godsend for our program to be able to do this and broadcast.
A godsend for the students and the towns they serve.
I believe God called me to this community, and because I love this community, I wanted to serve it. Through EMS, it's opened up a whole new dynamic of serving my community, because now it's not the Baptist preacher showing up, it's Brian. And oh yeah, he's studying paramedicine. He's going to be a paramedic, and so he can help us. You know, he can come in here and help us in this situation, which they might not have ever called the Baptist preacher, but they'll call an EMT to come help them.